Are you sure the frozen food in your freezer is really safe? Several frozen products at Costco are under fire after Robert F.Kenedy Jr. raised alarms about serious risks to consumer health. Some items once promoted as healthy are now suspected of containing artificial flavor chemicals, industrial additives, and even traces of viruses and heavy metals. What makes it worse is that certain products are still being sold openly despite insiders in the food industry warning about the potential dangers. If you've always believed frozen food was the safe and budget-friendly choice, this video might make you think twice. Here are 7 frozen foods at Costco you should stop eating right now before it's too late. Number 1. Frozen vegetable stir-fry. If you've got a bag of frozen stir-fry vegetables in your freezer, it's a good idea to take another look right now. The brand might look familiar. The packaging might scream healthy, and when you open the bag, the smell might even seem pleasant. But that's exactly where the first red flag shows up. In recent weeks, consumer forums and public health groups have been flooded with complaints. Shoppers say frozen vegetable stir-fry has an unnaturally sweet smell, sharp like chemicals, or even oddly fragrant like fabric softener. Strange as it sounds, the suspicion is not far-fetched. Independent lab tests suggest the product may have been treated with chemical fragrances to mask old or over-frozen vegetables. One compound that keeps coming up is ethyl butyrate, commonly found in artificial flavorings used in gum or air fresheners. So what's the problem? Technically, this additive is allowed in the food industry, but it's usually meant for candy and baked goods, not for coating vegetables that have lost their natural aroma after months in storage. For younger people, this might just smell a little unusual, but for older adults, especially those with conditions like asthma, diabetes, or chemical sensitivity, that sweetness could trigger irritation, bloating, or even digestive issues after a meal. What makes this worse is that frozen vegetable stir-fry used to be a go-to choice for people trying to eat more greens, cut sodium, or avoid animal fats. Because the label looked trustworthy, many households ate it week after week, month after month, without ever questioning it. Now imagine if every serving quietly delivered a dose of chemical fragrance that never showed up on the main ingredients list. Why wasn't anyone warned? Because manufacturers aren't required to disclose every trace compound if it falls under certain limits. And the term natural flavor makes for the perfect cover. If you thought frozen food meant safe food, it's time to think again. The real question is, why would stir-fry vegetables need to smell like fruity candy? And are we unknowingly poisoning ourselves under the banner of healthy eating? If you've ever caught that too sweet, too strange smell from a bag of frozen veggies, don't brush it off. Share your experience below. Chances are you're not the only one who has noticed something off about this product. Number 2. Cauliflower crust pizza. If you're craving pizza, the safest choice is still to head to a restaurant and order one fresh out of the oven. Eating it hot, right where you can see the chef making it, is the only real way to know what you're putting into your body. Because no matter how convenient frozen pizza might be, it always carries one specific risk: you never really know what's inside that crust. At Costco, many shoppers once believed cauliflower crust pizza was the perfect alternative. A crust made with cauliflower, low in carbs, gluten-free, and packed with protein. The box is covered with promises like real ingredients, keto-friendly, and made with fresh cauliflower. But what good are those claims? If once baked, the pizza smells harsh, leaves a bitter aftertaste, and glistens with a mysterious oily sheen. One of the most common complaints is that the crust doesn't turn out soft or crispy, but instead feels rubbery when it cools down. At first, people assumed it was just the cauliflower. The truth is, because cauliflower breaks down so easily, manufacturers often add mold inhibitors, moisture retainers, and texturizing agents to keep the crust intact after freezing. And since these additives don't have to be listed in detail, if they fall under certain limits, consumers end up eating far more than what the box leads them to believe. What makes this pizza even more concerning is how quickly it is spread into family meals. Marketed as a healthy pizza, it's often chosen for kids, for relatives with diabetes, or for anyone on a low-carb diet. That trust means fewer people read the label carefully, and almost no one questions whether the crust is loaded with binders, artificial starches, or processed oils. In one independent test, some samples of cauliflower crust pizza were found to contain calcium propionate, a preservative commonly used in industrial bread to extend shelf life. At small doses, it may not cause obvious harm, but eating it week after week, especially for people with sensitive digestion, could disrupt gut bacteria and lead to bloating or discomfort that few would ever connect back to their pizza. One customer put it bluntly, "I picked this because I thought it was healthier. But after a few weeks, I felt drained and my stomach was constantly bloated. Once I stopped eating it, I felt fine again." The real danger here isn't in a single slice. It's in the way the product is marketed. When packaging looks too clean, too trendy, too perfectly aligned with modern health fads, it's all too easy to hide questionable ingredients behind vague terms like natural flavor or preservatives. And it's even easier for consumers to let their guard down when what's in front of them seems on trend, sensible, and healthy. If you've ever eaten this pizza and noticed a sour edge, a sharp aftertaste, or a crust that didn't feel like real vegetables, think back. That reaction may not have been your taste buds being picky. It may have been the additives at work turning cauliflower into something that's not cauliflower anymore. Have you ever wondered what a so-called healthy food might really be hiding? And have you ever trusted the packaging only to realize after a few bites that it was a mistake? If so, share your story. Because that uneasy feeling you had might just be the wake-up call someone else needs to hear. Number 3. Frozen berry mix. Something strange has been happening with frozen fruit bags at Costco. Many people still buy them for their morning smoothies, mix them with yogurt, or bake them into afternoon treats. It feels like a healthy lifestyle choice, but in recent months, several health reports have kept repeating the same phrase, frozen berry mix. It's not about sugar. It's not about artificial coloring. It's about something almost no one expected: a virus, specifically hepatitis A. What many thought was just a rare mishap turned serious in 2023 when the FDA issued an emergency alert after imported berries tested positive for the virus. Several brands were forced to recall their products in California, Oregon, and Washington. And yes, some of those items had been sitting in Costco's freezer section. Here's the real problem: no one can say for sure that every contaminated bag has been pulled off the shelves. There's no guarantee that you or someone in your family didn't already buy one from the same production line. What makes it scarier is that people who contract the virus don't get sick immediately. For some, symptoms show up 2 weeks later. For others, it may only appear as mild fatigue, loss of appetite, or slight jaundice with no obvious cause. A nutrition expert in Colorado once warned frozen fruit isn't always clean. Washing, drying, and freezing can still miss pathogens if the process isn't tightly controlled. And when consumers see the words "triple washed," they usually let their guard down. Like many Costco products, frozen berry mix comes in bright, bold packaging with comforting labels: no added sugar, no preservatives, whole fruit flash frozen. But that sense of reassurance is exactly what makes people careless. In Sacramento, one elderly woman was found with a recalled bag suspected of hepatitis contamination in her freezer. The irony is that she'd been drinking smoothies made from it all week, thinking it was better than her usual coffee with milk. The risk here isn't rare, it's recurring. Every year, 1 or 2 recalls of frozen berries hit the news. And every year, people get sick without knowing the source. When you drink a smoothie every morning hoping to live healthier, but the fruit you use may carry a virus that survives freezing, you're not protecting your health. You're gambling with it. If you've ever bought frozen berry mix from Costco, think back. Did you ever notice a bag with unusual moisture inside the packaging or a thick layer of ice crystals? Did you feel bloated, slightly tired, or find the fruit tasted different than usual after using it? Don't ignore those small details. They could be important clues. Some may still dismiss this as a rare accident. But ask yourself, why do products marketed as healthy and natural keep ending up on major recall lists? And more importantly, why did no one warn you about that when you dropped it into your cart? Number 4. Mini beef tacos. Not everyone has the time or energy to cook a full meal every night. That's why so many people turn to products like mini beef tacos from Costco. Just pop them in the oven for a few minutes, and you've got a quick meal with protein and a taste of Mexico. On the surface, it looks like the perfect no-brainer solution. But that convenience hides a story that isn't so pleasant, especially if you really care about what you're putting into your body. They're called beef tacos, but peel back the thin tortilla and what's inside isn't exactly beef. In many batches reported by customers, the filling had a mushy, sticky texture without the strands or bite of real meat. Once cooled, it turned into a dense paste, more like a blend of mashed beans, gluten, and something vaguely meaty, but not meat. A local food analysis once revealed that some mini taco products on the market contain less than 50% real beef. The rest is filler soy protein modified starch heat-treated cornmeal emulsifiers, and especially textured vegetable protein. This is an artificial protein powder commonly used in cheap foods. When mixed with water oil and brown coloring agents, it mimics the chew of meat fairly well. So while you might think you're eating lean beef tacos, what you could actually be eating is a mix of industrial substitutes at a price higher than a big bowl of beef noodle soup at a Vietnamese restaurant. What makes people even angrier is the labeling. These products are sold as beef tacos, not soy mix tacos or vegetarian tacos. The ingredient list still highlights cooked beef crumbles as a main component, but it doesn't emphasize that they're blended with textured soy protein and modified food starch. Unless you take the time to research every term, you'd have no reason to doubt you're eating real beef. The problem isn't just about tricking your taste buds. It's about the lack of transparency that could harm your health. For people with sensitive digestion, the elderly, or those allergic to soy ingredients like textured soy protein, can trigger anything from bloating and diarrhea to mild intestinal inflammation if eaten regularly without knowing. One former chef admitted bluntly, "I could smell the powder in the filling as soon as I opened the box." That wasn't the smell of beef. It was the smell of heat-treated mix, the kind factories use to cut costs. Now think about older adults, people living alone, or anyone buying this product because they trust it to be quick, affordable, and filling. How many of them truly know what they're eating? If you've ever bought mini beef tacos believing they were a real meat option, but always found the filling mushy, sticky, lacking aroma, or upsetting to your stomach afterward, you probably weren't imagining it. That might have been the exact moment a product fooled you perfectly. Number 5. Roasted garlic mashed potatoes. There's no denying it, mashed potatoes carry a sense of warmth, comfort, and simplicity. And when they're already in your freezer ready to heat in just a few minutes with a little butter, they seem like the perfect homemade shortcut. For many people, roasted garlic mashed potatoes from Costco are the fastest way to bring back that old family flavor from when life felt simpler. But that feeling now lives only on the packaging. These ready-made mashed potatoes, sold as just like homemade, reveal a darker side that many shoppers overlook. They're no longer really potatoes in the way we remember them. Plenty of customers have noticed something off. Once reheated, the potatoes don't have that smooth, fluffy texture, but instead turn slightly slimy and sticky, almost refusing to melt in your mouth. The garlic flavor is there. The butter taste is strong, but the bite, if you pay attention, feels nothing like the mashed potatoes you used to make at home. Why? Because in many batches, real potatoes have been replaced largely by a mix of modified potato starch cream solids, vegetable oil blends, and xanthan gum, a texturizer commonly found in toothpaste, industrial sauces, and even latex paint. The result is that what should be one of the simplest side dishes becomes a testing ground for a cocktail of ingredients most people never expected to find in a bowl of mashed potatoes. And it's not just about texture. Some recent samples showed sodium levels well above the recommended intake for older adults, especially those with heart or blood pressure issues. Meanwhile, the label still features the same comforting phrases, seasoned to perfection, classic home recipe, and naturally flavored with roasted garlic. One health expert put it bluntly, "When a dish needs 3 types of vegetable oils, 2 kinds of stabilizers, and added flavoring just to recreate the feel of real potatoes, it stops being food." it becomes an imitation. What frustrates people even more is the sense of being tricked through nostalgia. Many older shoppers buy this product because mashed potatoes were their childhood favorite. But what they get today isn't comfort food. It's a lab-adjusted blend engineered to taste like the past, with hardly any real potatoes left. An elderly woman in Ohio once wrote, "I ate this for 3 days straight thinking I was saving time. On the 4th day, my legs started swelling. That's when I finally read the label and saw the sodium was higher than in canned food." The question here isn't just, is this dish healthy? It's, can we trust anything printed on the label anymore? Because when even a traditional, simple, foolproof dish like mashed potatoes gets industrialized to the point of distortion, what does that say about the rest of our packaged food chain? Number 6. Asian-style vegetable blend. Not everyone has the time to wash, peel, and prep every single vegetable by hand. So when shoppers see a bag of Asian-style vegetable blend in Costco's freezer aisle, it feels like the perfect solution. Multiple vegetables in one bag, pre-cut, pre-washed, and ready to stir-fry or steam into something that looks like a home-cooked dish. But reality isn't that simple. The first red flag for many people is the smell once the mix is cooked. Even if you only steam it, the vegetables often give off a sharp, slightly harsh odor that doesn't resemble fresh produce. Some describe it as a faint pesticide smell or like boiling veggies inside a plastic bag. And this isn't just imagination. Looking closer at the sourcing, consumers found that most of the ingredients in this Asian-style mix come from China and Thailand. That includes shiitake mushrooms, peas, baby carrots, bell peppers, and especially bamboo shoots, which are among the crops most likely to carry pesticide residue if not strictly regulated. The issue here isn't imported produce itself. The problem is transparency. The bag says packed in USA, but that doesn't mean the vegetables were grown in America. Many of them were farmed, harvested, and pre-processed overseas, then shipped to the US for final packing. This misleads shoppers into assuming it's a domestic product with full American oversight. Back in April, a random inspection at the Port of Seattle found a shipment of frozen vegetables similar to this blend containing cypermethrin levels above the legal limit. Cypermethrin is a common pesticide in Asian agriculture, but long-term exposure can lead to mild nervous system irritation. Other FDA reports have also warned that many frozen vegetables imported from Southeast Asia may slip through without full chemical testing if they pass through green lane inspections. And in a massive retail system like Costco's, monitoring every shipment from multiple countries is a serious challenge. If you've ever opened one of these bags and noticed a vegetable with an unusually dark color, a glossy coating, or a smell that doesn't match freshly boiled produce, that wasn't just bad luck. Some people have even reported stomach discomfort or a lingering bitter taste after eating them despite seasoning everything properly. We can't expect every single bag of vegetables to come with its own chemical certificate for each carrot or pepper. But what we can do is stay cautious whenever something feels too convenient, too cheap, and too perfectly packaged. Because sometimes that perfection is the cost of a shortcut supply chain, lower expenses, and looser inspection standards. Number 7. Kirkland Italian sausage. There was a time when Kirkland meant peace of mind. Seeing that logo on anything at Costco used to feel like a guarantee, carefully selected, reasonably priced, and premium in quality. But with Kirkland Italian sausage, many shoppers are starting to wonder if that trust has been misplaced. Spicy or not, this sausage has always been chosen for one main reason: convenience. Each link is pre-packed, deeply frozen, and ready to fry or grill within minutes. The aroma when it first hits the pan is tempting enough to make you think you're eating something restaurant-worthy. But that enticing smell is covering up a much bigger issue. As it cooks, people have noticed that these sausages release an unusual amount of oil. Not just a little grease, but a full layer coating the pan. And it's not only coming from pork fat. Ingredient labels point to the presence of mechanically separated pork, a paste-like meat product made by forcing residual scraps off bones with machines to maximize yield. On top of that, the sausage contains sodium erythorbate, and sodium nitrite, common preservatives in industrial sausage. At regulated levels, they keep the meat's color bright and extend shelf life. But if a batch has been frozen too long or stored inconsistently, these compounds can break down, leaving a metallic aftertaste or bitter edge, something customers have recently reported with Kirkland Italian sausage. One shopper from New Jersey wrote on Reddit, "I've been eating this since 2019 without issues. But lately, the taste is completely different. It doesn't have that meaty bite anymore. It's like ground scraps pressed together with fat." Random lab tests have also shown higher than usual levels of polyphosphate in some packages. This additive is used to retain moisture and make meat seem juicier. While it isn't banned, older consumers and those with kidney issues are advised to be cautious when consuming it regularly. And this is exactly why so many feel betrayed. Nobody expected a Kirkland product, the very symbol of quality plus value, to be processed to this extent. The disappointment isn't just about declining product quality. It's about the brand's silence in the face of clear feedback from loyal customers. It raises a tough question. If even Kirkland, once the most trusted private label in retail, is cutting corners with formulas full of fillers and additives, what does that say about the food supply chain as a whole? Have you ever bought these sausages yourself? Did you notice the flavor wasn't quite the same, or that they felt greasy heavy or lacked the natural savor they once had? Speak up, because staying silent may be the very reason once good products keep slipping further downhill. Sometimes what makes us sick isn't spoiled food, it's misplaced trust. Costco used to be where people found affordable, safe, and convenient food they could count on. But if even the most familiar frozen staples are being industrialized beyond recognition, maybe it's time we question what we once thought was safe. Are you still holding on to old trust in a brand that may have already changed? If you've had a similar experience with Costco's frozen foods, share it. Because that uneasy feeling after what seemed like a healthy meal may not just come from your stomach. It may come from trust quietly breaking down day by day.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage litigation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.